All right, it's a Monday. That means pattern predictions, the why behind the 14-day forecast. You can find the data in our Noyes 1 degree outside weather app, but why is it looking the way it is, and what should we expect might change, or what should we watch for? All right, let's go ahead and dive into it here. You can see fast jet stream coming across the country and coming off the Pacific, the atmospheric river, that consistent flow of deep moisture off the Pacific Ocean, causing stormy conditions in the western U.S., but infusing the rest of the nation with moisture and energy to raise the stakes on storm development. We've been talking about the Thanksgiving storm, much more on that in Insights with the details, but at the jet stream level, I'm also looking at what we call jet streaks, these faster little regions of wind inside the jet stream itself. There's one jet streak that's over Nova Scotia, another one coming into the mid-Atlantic on Thanksgiving Day. The reason that's important, if you're on the right rear side of these or the left front side of these, you've got an increased chance of storm development and strengthening. So notice it's right over us. This is another part of the reason that I've been telling you the cold isn't going to hold very well for a lot of New England, and the storm will likely track right over New England on Thanksgiving Day. Then as we get into the upcoming weekend, we start to dig out what we call a trough or a deep dip in the jet stream. This opens the door to cold air. Understandable to say, does that mean it opens the door to snow? Not really, because remember, the jet stream is the fast river of air that steers storms. So where are the storms being steered? Way down to your south. So you get cold, but you tend to get dry. And that's what we'll do for the upcoming weekend coming out of Thanksgiving into the first part of next week. But things do change after that. The jet stream begins to ride north again. This opens the door a bit to warming out in the western United States, but also opens the door to disturbances and storms to track closer to New England with better established cold air. This raises the chance of accumulating snow across the northeast and New England as we head particularly into December, let's say 4th, 5th, 6th, all the way through about the 10th. When I stop things at the 10th, one thing to point out, just so you know, we've got a building what we call ridge out in the western United States. There'll be some warmth with that. The question is, does this cold just kind of relent in the second half of December and we go to a warmer than normal pattern for the whole country? Or do we get enough disturbances to come from the poles to keep the cold coming in New England and the Northeast? I would say that's about a 50-50 proposition right now. And it's the key to the second half of December, whether we keep the good times rolling, so to speak, in terms of wintry stuff, or whether we see a relaxing and a relinquishing of that cold. So that's something that I'll have to keep you posted on. Certainly, the monthly forecast comes out first weekday of December and should have a pretty good handle on it by then, I would say. Rainfall in the next 2 weeks, or precipitation anyway. I shouldn't call it rainfall, but nonetheless, the Northeast more active. I'm certainly not zooming this map in. This is your 2-week snow total. I don't think it's going to be exactly right in any spot, but I show it to you on the big picture so you get the idea of the pattern. Yes, the Rocky Mountains, the West Coast, but the Northeast becomes a hot spot, perhaps for snow development. And again, this is, I think, particularly as we get to the end of next week. Part of the reason I say that, if you look at the surface temperature pattern, some real cold stuff at Thanksgiving morning coming across south central Canada. As we get into the upcoming weekend, that bleeds in a moderated, kind of muted form here to New England, but it just keeps coming. And this is what I was telling you about with that trough that digs in, and then as the disturbances come along the edge of it, that's your increased propensity for accumulating snow as we get out to the end of the first week of December and the following week for that matter as well, which would be week 3 in this forecast, right? So your pattern predictions in terms of precipitation chance, one disturbance Tuesday, we've talked about that in Insights. Another one Thanksgiving Day, we've talked about that in Insights and just now. And there is your rising chance of precipitation with a better chance it would be snow, because if you look at the overall high temperatures forecast for New England on average, it's a downward trend. It's colder than normal for the vast majority of the 2-week period, and the overnight low temperatures for that matter are below normal as well. So getting into some cold, getting into some wintry air, and you can track to see what days those disturbances kind of focus on, particularly as we get out to the end of that first week of December and the beginning of the following week with our app Noyes 1 degree outside weather. You can grab it on the App Store and Google Play. That's how things look for now, but of course we'll be excited to keep you posted through our Insights deep dives and every morning with that overview, 1 degree outside today. See you at onedegreeoutside.com.